Do you know how many undocumented Latino students are on our campus?
I would say there are approximately, maybe 14. Now, one of the things is, and who do you share this with? Just with
Our
Dr.
class.
Our
Wells?
class.
Okay. Do you think they're... I guess with the project, are you explaining what an undocumented student is?
For the most part, yeah.
Okay. Because, that's part of a long-standing immigration issue where some people don't feel that these students deserve an education or deserve to go on to school. So I just want to clarify that because there's always issues about immigration, and now, with immigrants all over Europe and everything, it's even worse. So just to let you know, and they're not all Latinos. There are other ethnicities. They're not all from Mexico or South America. There's, other countries. There's Russian. There's Jamaican. Things. Other areas. Okay.
Do you have any personal experiences with undocumented immigrants?
Yes, I work with them and their families and have for many years, trying to keep them updated on the new, and if there are any changes as far as what they need to do to start the application process to become permanent residents, or if they can, I many times suggest different attorneys. I know several immigration attorneys for them to work with.
What is the process of undocumented students and their parents coming to UWO?
What is the process? Okay. The students, being that they're here not by choice, many of them have come into the States as far as varying ages, from toddlers to up to teenage years. They come here with their parents, again, no choice of their own, and they go through the public school system. They get educated. Many of them do really well. They're excellent students, and once they start thinking about college, they have to actually fill out several different documents, and those documents, we call them affidavits. An affidavit, and there's two different ones which they have to have signed, notarized, and it's pretty much stating that they will be or are in the process of applying for permanent residency. They can't just apply. They have to claim their citizenship where they were born, and then from there we work with them as far as filling out the affidavits. But it is something that is kept, I guess, it's part of the university policy to keep those to keep the documentation up to date. And not only is it a one-time thing, but it's each academic year that they attend here that they have to fill these out. Does that answer your question pretty much?
Yeah.
Okay.
What are some stereotypes and fears that these students face while coming to school here?
I think some of the stereotypes are that they, first of all, can't speak English, or they're here because they chose to come here, that they themselves either crossed the border illegally or came into the country somehow illegally. But again, these are young people. They're students. They're at an age where most of them come in as early as toddlers to babies to up until early teen years. I've worked with some students who came in maybe elementary school age, and then they did have to go through the English language learners, the ELL system, and for a lot of them, especially the younger that they came in, they're very good at English. I think another stereotype is that they can't speak English or they're not familiar with the culture, but the majority culture, but they are. That's the only culture they know. Only that's how they know is here, because being that they are undocumented, they cannot go back and forth to their country of origin. Because they could go back, but the difficulty would be getting back into the country, and they're not apt to risk not being able to get back in. I think those are some of the stereotypes. A lot of them I know is, oh, you can speak English. Well, yes, it's my only language. That's all I know. So that is one. Another one is that I think a lot of people feel that the student that has made the decision to come in, it's not. For many of them, it's the parents came, and what are you going to do? Ask a child, do you want to stay here when they're 2 years old or a baby? So they're not here by choice.
Is the process different regarding undocumented Latino students versus students who are citizens?
Oh, yes. As far as applying for the university, definitely the application process. The application process, you being students here, it's online pretty much. But on that application, they do have to declare if you're citizens or not. So their application would be, they say, no, I'm not a citizen, a U.S. citizen. And then that application would send them to another area where they state either Mexico or somewhere in Russia that they were born, or South America, Colombia, something like that. So that process is different. And then, of course, once they're here, they are not eligible for any aid, anything like any financial aid at all.
Okay.
So that's pretty much what you mean. Their process, yeah. They cannot get any state aid. They cannot get any federal aid. If you look at the scholarships, many of the scholarships, I would say 99.9% of them clearly state that you have to be a U.S. citizen. So they're not eligible for any aid.
Okay. What is your view and or opinion on Latinos trying to achieve a higher education?
Oh, I think it's great. I'm always amazed at the talent that there's out there. And the one thing is, the Latino Hispanic culture is, as a group, I think I just finally realizing that there are options for them out there. If you study hard and do well in school, there are scholarships. Unfortunately not for the undocumented ones, but there are scholarships out there, and there's just, oh my gosh, just a ton of talent out there, where with the undocumented students there is as well. And for many of them, they do really well in public schools, and then once they get towards college age, what I have seen is maybe junior in high school, and for many students, they're never told by their parents that they're here illegally. They don't find out until it's maybe time to start applying for a scholarship, and then the parents, well, you're not a citizen. Imagine the shock of that. you're an A student throughout high school thinking, oh, I want to go to college, and then, well, right here, as they say, the buck stops here because they don't think they can attend. And I mean, I think it's great. The students that I have worked with here that were undocumented students, if you look at their records, they achieve much higher grades. They're just super students. For them, the opportunity to go to college is huge. For them, maybe a lot of them didn't think they could ever go. And there are a lot of universities that won't accept them because of their immigration status. I think it's great, especially the undocumented students that I have seen. They've never given up, even though prior to, what was it, 2012, prior to what they called the, the deferred action for early childhood arrivals that President Obama put into effect. Prior to that, many of the undocumented students that were studying, they knew that at the end of their college career, they may not be able to use their degrees because of the fact that they weren't U.S. citizens. They wouldn't be able to work, but they still never gave up. They were still studying here, and they never quit, and they never slacked on their grades or anything. And I remember talking with one student saying, they're just, yeah, they're just determined. I guess that's it. And I was talking with him, and I'm saying, once you complete this, there's finding a job is going to be difficult because you don't have a social security number. So you're not going to be able to have this degree in hand. And I think he was a microbiology major and a chemistry minor. I mean, something really difficult. And he's, no, that's okay. I'll have a degree. I'll have an education. I can speak Spanish if I need to. I'll go to a Spanish-speaking country and work, or back to Mexico and work. That's where his parents were from. Wow, what a great attitude. It's education was the mainstay that kept him going, is getting that degree, and whatever happens, and hopefully we're always saying, just hoping that the DREAM Act, we the DREAM Act, that the DREAM Act gets passed. But oh my gosh, they've just never quit. It's amazing. And for them, for me, it just makes it so rewarding to see that, because I did grow up in a family where I am first generation, where many students here in Oshkosh are. But the one thing that we had, my family, my siblings and I, that is what we had, is really a lot of support and encouragement from our parents. I knew education was key. And my parents, I'm second generation, what they call it, Chicana, born and raised, and second generation born and raised in the U.S. So that in itself was good when I was to sit and work with these kids that don't have, these students, I should say, that don't have choices, but they still find a way and ways to get here. I think it's great because I see a lot of determination, a lot of just that drive for education. That's amazing. So my feelings are, yay, go. You can do anything you want to do now.
And then our last question is, what are the prospects for students once they graduate?
Okay. Well, that is something that what we call DACA, the Deferred Action for Early Childhood Arrivals, has done, is with undocumented students now. It's a challenge still to be accepted at some universities, because many universities will take them as international students, which makes cost-wise pretty much double as far as tuition. And for many of those students, the finances is a challenge. But now that with DACA, and there again, you have to meet that criteria, you are able to work because you get a social security number. So right now I have, let's see, two young ladies, teachers in education, bilingual education, who are teaching because of the DACA. I mean, I think they were the first ones in line to get a social security number because they had already graduated. I have a couple of young men that are in the business area and the, what is it, supply chain and management degree that are working in that. I have the young man with the chemistry and the biochem degree majors. He's working in a pharmaceutical company. See, it's just amazing. What else? I'm trying to think. Everyone that has graduated is working, not undocumented student, and working in their field. They've never quit. They had their degree for many, 3 of them. They had their degree. One of them, she had her degree for probably a good 4 years prior to DACA. Yeah, I know. It was sad. I mean, she was getting to a point where she was really getting depressed. But she worked in a taco stand. She moved to Texas and moved in a taco stand, and here she had. I mean, this young lady never fell below a 3.86 GPA in education. She just never gave up. But I was getting to her. Here I am working in a taco stand, and I remember her emailing me. I watch school buses go by, and that's where I need to be, and I can't. And was actually part of a group from Texas, the Dreamers, they call them the Dreamers, that went and did a mock graduation on the White House stuff, or in front of the White House.
Huh.
And then there was another one, she's a teacher too, and elementary ed bilingual education. And I think she was out there maybe 3 years before DACA passed. And then these 2 young men, they graduated at the same time. I think there was probably a couple years that the business graduated and had their degrees, but weren't able to work. I mean, they were working in a restaurant or something like that. They were working, but not in their field of choice or what their degree was in. So it's it's been what was the question?
The question was, what are the prospects for students once they graduate?
And now with DACA, definitely they graduate, and they, as I said earlier, so many of them, when I say they that are here studying, they are just stellar students. I can't believe how hard they work. And I think just having that opportunity to be here and to study is something they're never going to take for granted. They're don't miss class. They don't, I mean, everything is just work hard. Sometimes you try to tell them, you do need a little off time too here, so do that. So the prospects for them, because they are hardworking, because they are out there to achieve high grades, they're the ones that I know have been able to obtain jobs in their area, their field of study. I don't know any of them that hasn't. And now there's even more that I see these already. There's 2 young ladies in business who I know pretty much they're doing internships, and for both of them I'm sure it's going to be in there, and they're bilingual, so I mean they're just so marketable too. and prospects are good. As long as they, keep their grades up and stuff, but they do. I don't ever have to, I do call a lot of the students, what's wrong with you? Get your butt in gear here, but they are really good about doing well. And I think too, when you start paying tuition out of pocket, are you gonna miss classes?
No.
I mean, even it's bad enough with financial aid because you still have to pay it back. But I mean, they're coming. Everything is out of pocket. Most of them. Some of them. One young lady's here. A lot of scholarships she was able to obtain once she was here, because you know how so many departments give their scholarships out, that she was able to get scholarships. But there again, too, there's few that are offered to anyone that's not a citizen. So,
Awesome. Thank you.
oh, you're welcome.